Before you get airborne, you have to pay close attention to safety right here on the ground. You need to be constantly vigilant to protect your passengers and yourself. In this program, we'll look at prop swinging.
Hand swinging a propeller is fraught with danger, and there are many reasons for this. Firstly, a propeller is able to kick back while it's being handled on the ground, and this can cause it to suddenly flick backwards while you're still holding it. And the real danger of that is that the trailing edge of the propeller is the sharp edge, and that's exactly where your fingers are likely to be. If the starting procedure is being conducted on loose gravel or wet grass, the person swinging the prop can lose their balance and lose their footing, and it goes without saying that would be particularly dangerous in front of a propeller. Also, an aeroplane that isn't properly secured during hand starting may in fact move forward if the engine starts with more than the desired amount of power, again with obvious dangerous results.
It's a pilot's worst nightmare, a plane running down the tarmac with no one at the controls. 3 children were inside this 4-seater Cessna when their father hand-started the engine and it took off at full throttle.
It was just accelerating really fast along the taxiway on the smooth, and the pilot was running along trying to get inside it. I'd say when I guess he hand cranked it and it bolted over the chocks, and he would have been trying to get in there and stop it.
The Salvation Army-owned plane sped about 100 metres through the light aircraft zone. A wingtip clipped another plane, throwing it onto one wheel, slicing through the back of a second parked aircraft. At some point, the pilot caught up with the plane and got inside before it slammed into another Cessna parked on the tarmac.
Bits and pieces were flying all over the place. All the noise stopped because the engine stalled when it cleaned up the other aeroplane. And people running from all directions. We didn't know who was in the aeroplane and who wasn't, and just trying to get people out of it.
The owner of the 3 aircraft hit by the runaway plane praised the men who braved spilt fuel to make sure everyone was out of the wreckage.
I think there's a lot of heroism here today. It's hard not to get emotional at this stage, but I'd say that there were men ran out and faced danger to rescue the kids.
They're pretty shaken. Little girl was crying. Little fellow we got out, a 13-year-old kid, was completely soaked in fuel.
An investigation has started with questions remaining over why the aircraft was hand-started and why the throttle was set at high speed. Michael Coggan, ABC News, Darwin.
It was only luck that no one was hurt. Modern aircraft with their engine ignition systems just aren't designed for prop swinging.
A propeller should be treated like a loaded gun because of the switching mechanism on magnetos. Magnetos are designed to fail safe. That is to say that in flight, if a fault develops within the switching mechanism and the wiring, the magneto will continue to operate, which is a very nice idea when you're over the mountains at night in a single-engine aeroplane. However, when the aeroplane is parked on the ground, if there's a fault in the magneto switching system, then we have to consider the fact that a magneto turns itself off by diverting the current that would have gone to the spark plugs harmlessly to Earth. If there's a fault in that Earth wiring system, then the magneto can't discharge that current to Earth, and when the impulse fires, the current will run through the leads and a spark will occur. And of course, there's no way for a pilot to be sure that there is a fault, or is not a fault in the ignition system. The switches, the key can be in the off position. That's no guarantee that there isn't a fault in the earth wiring. The safest thing to do is to always treat the magneto as though it was alive. That is, as though it was a loaded gun. Another consequence of hand starting is the possibility that if the hand start is successful and the aeroplane is now in fact sitting there with the engine running, it should be remembered that an alternator requires some battery power to excite the alternator in the first place. If a battery is dead flat, it's possible that the engine can be running due to the magnetos, but in fact the alternator is offline, producing no current at all. This could lead to a situation where the pilot, having gone through the hazards of hand start, becomes airborne only to realise he has no radios, no electrics in general. The whole dangerous exercise has been for nothing. He returns to land after all, and the whole argument's over.
aircraft are designed for hand starting, and there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Again, you'll need training from an experienced and qualified expert. The right precautions and good communication and procedures are vital.
You ready?
Ready when you are.
Throttle set.
Throttle is set.
Brakes on.
Brakes are on.
Contact.
Contact.
As we can see from the Tiger Moth, it's an aircraft that is designed for propeller starting with fully accessible controls. If we have a look at a modern aircraft, we can see how dangerous it is with the controls a long way away from the propeller.
As you've heard, the best advice is don't prop swing a modern aircraft, it's too dangerous. If you do find yourself in a situation where there really isn't any option, don't try it unless you've had training from a qualified person.